Welcome to Coinology, the podcast. Hey guys, there's another episode of Coinology, and I am so honored to be sitting here today with our guest, Mr. King. I've received the proper introduction. I was schooled on that by Angela. King Jay Morrison. So welcome Jay Morrison to Coinology, guys.
Peace, Queen.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm so honored to have you here today.
I'm honored to be here.
Well, thank you. So I think most people may know or not know you are a financial expert, I would say, right? In most cases, you are what I think Black Americans need today. We need someone who's going to make us think differently and think outside the box. And I say a trailblazer because you're willing to go in spaces that have not been, tapped, and you're not afraid to do so, right?
I agree.
Right. Fearless.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, I want to say that because I've been watching your journey from the very beginning, and I've been watching you build and build. Because I think when I first started following you, you may have only had a couple thousand followers. Mm-hmm. And over the time, you've grown and grown and grown and grown and become so successful. And that success, what people don't realize, does not come without adversity. But to see you still standing here today, still smiling, and still moving forward and pushing financial literacy in our community still says a lot about you as a leader.
Yes, I appreciate that. They say when we talk about adversity, we talk about leadership, pioneering, and trailblazing. Whoever goes through the door first gets the bloodiest. Right? It's like if we are all looking to embark on new territory, if we're looking to create something for ourselves, liberate our people, repair our people, whatever that collective goal is, if it hasn't been done before, and you're going to sail set to say, I'm going to find this new territory for us. I'm going to find a solution for us. We're going to work towards that. Any learning curve, any adversity, any obstacles, any unknowns, that leader, that trailblazer, that pioneer is going to face those things and run those things first. And I truly believe, especially as Black men, it's our job and it's our duty. It's our community.
But everybody doesn't have it in them.
I agree with that too.
Right? Everybody doesn't have it in them. And so that's one of the reasons why we have Coinology, because I do want to talk about those who do have it in them. Right? And so if people think getting to the top is without scars, then they really don't know what getting to the top really consists of. Let's talk a little bit, though, about your upbringing. Who is Jay Morrison? What is it that we don't know about Jay?
Oh, man. I've been very transparent and vulnerable about my story, so many may know a lot. But I think one thing I think is special about my upbringing is that I truly feel that I was called to do the work I do today and given a specific journey and adversities and stories so that I can be more relatable to the people that I'm here to serve. Right? And so that's everything from, I say often in my opening with lectures and things, my mom was 17 years old when she had me, but she got off the abortion table to have me. She literally was on the table, ready to have an abortion, and just couldn't do it and got off the table. So my life was challenged before it was even my life. And then growing up, we grew up in poverty, and my mom literally would go in stores and swap out my sneakers right in the store and walk out. And that's how I got new kicks. And, we grew up on welfare and food stamps. And my earliest memories of my father, my stepfather who raised me, was visiting him in prison, in county jails. He would send stuff home for Christmas. They had like a wood shop in the county jail. He'd send home nunchucks and Chinese stars and things like karate back when I was a kid. So I just knew those experiences and really growing up in the hood in a small town, Summerville, New Jersey. And having made up my mind early, though, seeing so much poverty, seeing some abuse, seeing drug addiction, I knew at 6, 7 years old in Plainfield, New Jersey, I was like, I want $1 million trillion. But I meant it, though.
And did you know how you were going to do it?
No, but I just had this burning thing in me, this burning desire.
That's you know what, that's deep. I want to stop there because I can relate to that. I remember being a little girl growing up on Shell Road. I'm from Hampton, Virginia. And I remember that I wanted more, but I didn't know how I was going to get it because the exposure. So your exposure was limited.
Yes.
But you knew that that wasn't it for you.
I knew that I knew.
You knew that you knew.
I knew that I knew. Real quick, should I put my other headphone on? Is that how you do it here? I want to be cool like the rappers. And have
Oh,
like
the
one on,
rappers.
one off,
Okay.
but, like,
I don't know if I'm
could do
cool.
both,
I have
though.
it on both, but is that cool? Is that okay? I just want.
So, but no, you know that's so interesting because I've carried that burning desire with me my whole life. My first time making money for myself was in 4th grade. In our apartment complex, we were in a low-income housing complex, and there we're playing football, touch football, tackle football, and by the garbage can, and I saw a broken fish tank that had all these like pretty marbles. So I'm like, I just collected all the marbles, and then my friend's like, I want one. I'm like, yo, it's 5 cents. Like, that's 10 cents, and I had a whole bunch of marbles, and I brought them to school the next day. And we lived in. My mom moved us from an inner city, Plainfield, New Jersey, to a suburb, Bridgewater, New Jersey. We lived in a kind of the poor part of that town, but I was one of the few black kids in my grade. And so when I got to school, all the white kids were like, yo, I want some. So I'm charging 25 cents, 35 cents. But then as I got down to like my last 4 or 5, I'm like, it was $1.
Right. You knew then the exclusivity.
I knew
right?
supply and demand early. Like it only made sense. Like I only got a few left. Like the price got to go up. All y'all want this, and that's all I got. And so I made like $40 in 4th grade. And it was around Mother's Day, and I bought my mom a bunch of flowers, brought them home. And then I got a beating when I got home. So like, where you get this money from, boy? Like, I got in trouble for trying to do good, but that was my first hustle. And then by 5th grade, I would make money on lunchtime. I had a cool kids class. I would teach the kids in my class how to dance and how to dress, and I literally charged them to be cool.
Okay.
That was my second hustle.
All right. So you charged them to be a part of the crew.
Yeah, well, it was to teach them how to be cool.
To be cool.
Yes.
I'm surprised up in New Jersey they just didn't know how to be cool already.
It was mostly white kids.
Oh, okay.
So they were trying to get the culture. So I was teaching the culture early. So I'm like, you want this Bart Simpson shirt? Let me show you how
to do it, right?
Yeah, you want
or how to rock it, right? Just like you just asked me which ear to, you're still
I'm
studying which way.
I'm sure you how to rock this thing real quick. And so I charged for it. But I just knew that I wanted more and I needed more early in life.
And so where did the change come about? So you know, high school, and then we had a turn, right? So what exactly made that turn?
My shift happened. My heart got broken. I was committed to basketball. My uncle, my grandfather has 13 children by 7 different women. He was a Rolling Stone. One of my uncles is Eric Murdoch, former NBA player. And a few of my cousins went to the league or played professional basketball, got scholarships. So our whole family played sports. And I was tall, I was athletic. And so I thought I was going to make it in sports. And so I was very committed to basketball, played AAU, did all the camps, all that. And then like my sophomore, going to my junior year, my coach, partly him, partly me, I was hanging around what was the wrong crowd. But it was the black kids. And I went to, a majority white high school. So my coach is like, you got to stop hanging with them. I'm like, I'm not going to stop hanging with them. Like, these are the people
hanging with my people, right?
These are people in my neighborhood. I got to go home and sit on a green box with them. But you're saying, like, the sagging the pants. Why are you wearing like construction boots to school? Like, why are you wearing, you know what I mean? We wearing Timberlands. He's like, why are you wearing construction boots for, right? You're a basketball player. So, and I had a lot of animosity because of things that was going on at home as well. So I had a very bad anger issue, very bad temper. And so I got in a lot of trouble. And by my junior year, he had kicked me off the basketball team or had like delayed my progress in basketball. And I was going through things at home as well with my stepfather and my mom. And I left home and I dropped out of high school. And so I found myself literally homeless, just kind of roaming the streets, sleeping on friends' couches, friends' basements. And some of my older cousins and guys I knew in the neighborhood, they were selling crack. And it was like, hey, you could take this pack and, you sell
flip it.
it's a 100-pack. You keep $30, bring me back 70. And so when my stomach is hungry, I'm trying to get some cheese sticks from Pizza Hut or something, or chicken wings and fried rice.
Where was the coaches, though? The coaches just left you out there to dry?
Yeah, it was like, all right, you're a knucklehead, you're a bad kid, you're whatever. So, that disappointed me too, because my coach had got me one of my first jobs. I was with him during camps. I interned with him in a sense, and so I had this, and I was lacking kind of a fatherly and manly love, and so I thought my coach was that, and so when he too shut me out, it was like,
So that was the true heartbreak.
It was
even beyond the basketball.
Right.
It was the disappointment of that male figure yet again in your life that turned away?
Absolutely.
Because I'm sure in your mind, you may not even know it now, but I'm sure as a child, you probably longed for him to come and say, let me rescue you from this.
Right. Like love me beyond where I'm at.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
it was conditional. It wasn't unconditional. And so at that time, I just realized I had to take care of myself. And so I hit the streets and then I just, went hard at it. I ended up going back to high school to an alternative program. Took my bumps and bruises in the streets. I played a lot. There was, the older guys, they be using you out there. But when I got the hang of it, my ambition kicked in and I got really good at it.
Wow. So financial literacy, even from that perspective, started pretty young.
It did, yeah. I mean, at that time, you had to learn, what 70-30 on a pack was, or 60-40, or, you know what I mean? Like, you had to learn.
And you had to know that you weren't getting gypped.
And that you weren't getting gypped. You had to know that, like we bought grams of Coke for $20 and we sold it for $100 in our town. So you sold, you got 5 20s out of 1 gram. So you sold 2 for $35, 3 for $50, 4 for $70, 6 for $100.
I often think about, Jay, how many CEOs is still locked up right now. I mean, brilliant.
Hundreds of thousands.
Brilliant. They created corporations. It just wasn't legal.
Correct.
That are still locked up, the minds that we have, right?
And what's super sad is many of those street entrepreneurs or street CEOs created corporations around marijuana, which is now legal.
But that was because, right. Now, you just said 2 things. One, visibility, right? They created it because that's all they knew to do. They didn't have access like we have now with Instagram to be able to know that there's other products to be able to sell. But the other part is, I think it would hit me in my stomach super hard that I was sitting in prison right now for something that's legal.
That would hurt.
Right. Yeah.
So that was like my early stages. And I also then I was going to high school and I started playing ball again at an alternative high school, vocational high school. And so I bailed one of my cousins out of jail and I let him work for me during the day. And then I had some other people working for me. So then I started staffing. I had to replace myself. And then I got into systems okay, well, here's how we're going to pick up. Here's how we're going to bag up. Here's how we're going to work out. So these are just natural things of how do you make the process easier? Right? How do you scale? How do you grow? So those are my early days of understanding entrepreneurship before I knew it was entrepreneurship.
Do you think some people are I believe that you're born with it. Do you believe that you're born with it or do you believe you learn it?
I don't think it's an either or. It can be both. I believe that some people have something special in them. It just takes something or someone to bring it out.
What brought it out in you, though?
I got to say my mom. My mom was a hustler. Not only did she sell drugs, literally, but she also slung newspapers, had a paper route. She also, I would literally, my mom would get us up at 4 a.m. and we bag up hundreds of newspapers. So you fold them, put them in rubber bands, or if it's raining out or snowing, you have to put them in plastic bags. Me and my sister, I'm talking about 12 years old, bagging up, and then we go deliver them. 6 a.m., 5 a.m. on a Sunday morning, before church, before Sunday school. And I just saw my mom have this amazing level of drive. She had, in addition to that, she had childcare. She would watch kids and just figure it out. And so when you have parents around you, my stepfather too, he was a hardworking man. I mean, he got caught up in the streets as well, but he always was hardworking. And so my grandma, hardworking. So that work ethic was instilled from me within my family. And with that kind of drive, I think a lot of people, they have it in them, but, they get lazy, they get distracted, they make bad decisions or can't recover from adversity, right? And so you still got it in you, but you let circumstance
stop you,
kind of defeat you.
So do you believe in the talented 10th?
Yeah, I do.
You do?
Yes.
So do you believe that only the top 10% have it in them and can focus?
I believe that only I believe that only about 10% of us do. Not that they have it in them and focus, but that we actually do. I think
but
more
why?
people.
Why?
And it might even be growing nowadays because of exposure, because it's now more real, right? So a lot of I think where people don't try bigger things, or don't believe they could be a millionaire, 100,000-aire, or don't have big aspirations, is because it hasn't been made visible enough and real enough to them. So for me, selling drugs, being a ball player. I seen my uncle go to the NBA.
So you knew that was real.
Right. I seen drug dealers come with new cars, big chains, the prettiest girl, like wads of cash. I seen rappers. I seen Jay-Z, right? We seen rappers be successful and those kind of things. So those were real. Being a real estate fund manager, I had no idea what that was. Being an entrepreneur, being an author, like I didn't, like these things didn't seem possible or real. It seemed like for other people. So I think exposure helps expand that talented 10th to maybe a talented 20% of us. Just from exposure, you'll find people that do have the motivation, they have the intangible skills, they have it in them, but now that they see it's actually possible, they're now inspired to do more.
Inspire. And then you have, so I think the talented 10th too, King Jay, also are the leaders, the trailblazers that probably influence the other 10% that make up the 20 that you're talking about, right?
Start somewhere, right?
It has to start, and everybody just doesn't have that trailblazer-ness in them to be able to think, be creative, and to be able to handle the adversity and fight through. Most people give up somewhere through that period. So you ended up becoming incarcerated.
Yes.
How long were you away?
First time for a year, second time for a year and a half. So by the age of 21, I had 3 felonies in 3 different states and served 2.5 years in prison.
So you had to find a way outside of a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I when I meet people and they use the felony as an excuse to just give up, I'm often confused because most of the most successful people that I know have a felony or something of that magnitude because of whatever happened, growing up. And that push, because they had no other way, was their outlet.
I think with all excuses, man, I think excuses are our excuse to just bail out and not do the work. So it might be harder, but it's still not, right? So it's like I believe in a saying, there's no excuses, just results.
That's right. So when did you realize that you were this financial expert, that your literacy in finance was greater than the average person?
Probably early on, like 2006. I got into mortgages in 2002 while on parole. I went back to the streets for a few years. 2005, got really serious about it, became a realtor, loan officer, owned a few properties, about $1 million or so in real estate. But by 2006, as I really started like learning about loan products and financing and how it all works, I wasn't close to my financial acumen today, but I knew more than 99% of people in the hood, and probably more than 90% of people in America in general, just because it's not taught anywhere, right? You don't learn, what a loan to value is.
Did you have a mentor, books? Well, how did you learn?
Very little books, which I got to work on, but very little books. I'm a doer. I'm an action taker. And so I did have mentors. Lashida Thomas, who actually works with me today as my senior fund administrator. She was one of my first mentors in 2002 in mortgages. And then John Wenzel, who I call my white dad. He's kind of that reflection of my coach. My coach was also white. But he was like a man that took me on at 50 years old and was like, oh, you want to learn the business? I was coming out of the streets. I was rough around the edges, like chip tooth and all. And he's like, hey, come in. And I literally helped him build his mortgage company up to like 9 branches, $50 million business, where, I literally helped him put the chairs together, the tables together, and he showed me the ropes of the business. And our relationship was so close, and it was unconditional to the point where even when I couldn't close any loans for several months, I was learning the business, trying to build a pipeline, he would just give me a draw. Like, here you go. I see you working hard. Here you go. Like, we'll just take out your first commissions and like just I struggled for like 9 months trying to learn real estate, coming out of the streets, learning professional etiquette, learning the terms, like getting people to trust me. And I was going to go back to the streets about 9 months into the business because it just wasn't working for me. And the month I was going to relapse, I made $13,000 on mortgage and real estate commissions. And the next month I made $30,000, and then 4 months later I made $93,000.
Wow. That definitely kept you from running back to the streets, right?
So at that time, it was the time where I knew, like, okay,
I'm on to something. Yeah, I need to. And so then came Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram's probably like 8 years after. This is like 2006, 2007. So I became a millionaire in real estate by 27. That was 2007.
So you were a real millionaire before I hate to say it, the fake millionaires. You know, we got a lot of folks that's on Instagram.
I call them pandemic millionaires.
We were just talking about that. But you were doing this before it became popular to do it.
Yeah, and shout out to them. You know, if you made $1 million, you made $1 million, however you got it. I ain't mad at you.
Right. But it's a difference.
That new money is different than this old money.
Yeah, because you know the actual process. I feel like in order to sustain it, you have to go through the actual process, the ups, the lows, the downs, the ebbs, the flows. If you don't go through that, the sustainability is what you're going to lack.
Yeah. And that's the value I give a lot of my coaching clients and my students, et cetera, is like, you're not just getting YouTube University from me. You're just not getting like recent success and recent hacks or traits. You're talking about, I seen my first 100,000 at 17, my first $1 million by 27. Like,
wow.
I've been, my first rollie was at 17. Like, I've been doing this.
You've been doing it. So now you saw, when you first joined Instagram, or when I first took notice of you on Instagram, right, 2012, you didn't have a huge following, but I saw you move quickly to build a following. I think you knew then that in order to actually move numbers, you have to increase the following. So I saw you go into it with a lot of effort. Was that purposeful?
It was, and that just reminds me like where I'm at today. We'll get into that later though. But I put a lot of effort into it, and I was mentored by Emory Jones, who's Jay-Z's partner in Rock Nation.
Okay.
And Emory did 10 years in prison, and we have mutual friends who part of the same kind of crew of guys down in Maryland. And I got to like shadow him at Rock Nation and Rockaware, and I got to see how Jay-Z's company was built. And I built my company kind of the same model. And it was like Jay-Z tap dances on stage, right? He's the best at what he does.
Best.
And Emory always told me, like, do what you do best. Because I was in music at one point. I got out of real estate after the market crashed. That's when I met E. I got out of real estate, was in music, party promotions, doing other things, trying to figure out my route. And he was like, bro, when I was in prison, like I heard about you, like you were the guy. Because I was on BET in like 2006, 2007 on a show called Transformations. They acknowledged my real estate journey. I ended up winning a Rockaware I Would Not Lose campaign in 2007. And I had billboards in Times Square and in Vegas for my life transformation story in real estate. So, but I didn't understand branding then. So to me, it was like, yo, all right, cool. But, you
didn't know how to make it work for you.
Right. And so then in 2012, as I talked to E and I saw how Hov used branding to be his top of funnel, we call it, to bring eyeballs, or what I call be a rainmaker. And now your businesses are the buckets that catch the rain.
That's right.
So I was like, okay, as long as I become influential enough and big enough, I can always create a business model, right, to be able to profit off of, especially with the financial acumen I have, and especially when I know that you can do more real estate deals with more people. And so, 2012, man, I started like everybody else, 0 followers. And I mean, I remember my first posts were like, I had some cool posts, like fly outfits, cars, all of that, 7 likes, like, but it's not even a number, it's just names, like Brianna, Tiffany, right? And, we just grinded it up. So I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter how many people show up. I'm going to do more classes. I'm going to post more videos. I'm going to post more on YouTube. I'm just going to flood it. Like, I just literally just like...
And you went live like every day.
Like every day.
Consistency.
Yeah, consistency.
Yeah. And that's the thing I tell people, don't be afraid of the humble beginnings. And that's the part that most people are afraid of. People seeing them start small and continuously going, right? So then became the Tulsa Fund, right?
Tulsa Real Estate Fund.
So brilliant. How did that come to be?
So early on my Instagram days, maybe 2014 or so, I had maybe like 30,000 or so followers. And I did a post. We were looking at some properties in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm like, hey, I'm looking at some properties. They're $80,000. I don't need any partners, but if anyone would like to be a part of this, I might take on some partners, minimum $10,000 investment. And I got like 80 responses in like the first hour of people that wanted to be a part of it, and a bunch of emails. And I talked to my lawyer, like, you know what, you can't do that. Like, that's breaking blue sky laws. Like, there's a way you got to actually register to raise capital publicly. And so I started doing that research in 2014, kind of put it on park for a little bit. And in 2015, Freddie Gray happened in Baltimore, and I was a part of that activist and protest activism. And everyone was saying, we got to build the Black Wall Street. We got to build the Black Wall Street. And this goes into trailblazing and pioneering and being a visionary. It's like, I'm not with all the talk. So if we're going to say we want to build a Black Wall Street, or we want to start this company, or we want to do this initiative, so let's reverse engineer, let's work backwards. Well, what's that look like? And so if we're going to build a Black Wall Street, like, don't we need some kind of financial institution for how we all can do it? So where's that at? Or are we going to just hashtag and tweet?
That's right.
And so I reflected on the old fake capital raise that I did on Instagram. And I was like, you know what? I don't have a bunch of wealthy friends for me to tap into, but I do got a nice following and a nice base. And so we did more research and found out that President Obama had passed the Jobs Act, which made it now eligible for you to market publicly a capital raise, right, through what's called a Reg A fund. And so we put the following in 2016. We formed a company, Tulsa Real Estate Fund, Tulsa, a.k.a. Black Wall Street of Tulsa, Oklahoma, right? And so I didn't want to do a Black Wall Street fund. I didn't feel like that was going to fly with the government.
Right.
But we did a Tulsa Real Estate Fund. In 2016, we registered it, and I applied, even as a 3-time felon, no college education, none of that. I applied as a new fund manager, and by 2018, we were approved, and we launched a historic fund.
Amazing. And the whole purpose was to allow those who typically knew nothing about investing or did not have enough capital to really make a dent.
Correct.
To have an opportunity to own a piece of America, correct? Is that the original?
It was originally to practice group economics.
But the problem I think that most people have is that they don't understand financial literacy, right?
That is a big part of it.
Right?
And we've never been through this before.
Never. And I think by nature, we as African Americans tend to distrust. We don't want to believe. And I think that there's also this syndrome of folks who believe in this get rich quick scheme. Everybody's trying to do things real quick without understanding that everything takes time. There's a process for everything. So how do you deal with the naysayers because they just don't understand the process? I think that's what most of this is about, not understanding.
Yeah, well, I think there's 2 parts to it, right? And that's something I like to clarify is because we've had, so if everyone's to be clear, Tulsa Real Estate Fund partnered with over 15,000 families from 22 countries. And we raised a little over $11.5 million, and we have invested millions of dollars into Black developments all over the country, including our Black House here in Atlanta, Georgia. But we still, to this day, have over 14,000 partners.
Wow.
In 4 years. We've retained that many partners. Our partners and even some of their lack of education or financial astuteness really has not been our problem. The problem has been the outsiders and the instigators in our community who have a problem with what we've done, who have no skin in the game of what we've done.
So do you think that comes from illiteracy, or do you think that comes from jealousy, envy? What do you think that is? 'Cause I assumed it was the internals.
Everybody does. No. It was all the noisemakers around, or naysayers, were all people were saying, y'all are stupid for doing that.
Ah, okay.
Why are y'all doing that? This is going on. And so I think it was, we had so much momentum, so much hype, so much movement, and we still do. And it's similar to what Marcus Garvey did in 1921 with the UNIA and the Black Star Line. They raised $800,000 with $5 investments, and which is equivalent to $10.3 million today. And I think it's like it's our trauma is what it is, boils down to. Some of it could be trauma, which creates a crab in a bucket, and hate. Who's this Negro think he is?
Right.
You got that. I've had people say, well, he's not qualified to do that. What qualifies him to do it? The fact that I did it. Right.
And that same thing can be you, right? Anybody, right? Just do it, right?
Just do the work.
Right.
So it's like, okay, if you see errors or holes or gaps in what I've done, you have free will to go create something better or to figure out how to collaborate with me to help us improve, because it's a group thing. It's not about me, it's about we.
But as an outsider looking in, it was so disheartening to see such strong, smart, intelligent, well put together African American men going at each other like that. And I'm like, we're trying to uplift the community. You were trying to bring along folks. And without even giving one or the other an opportunity to be able to talk about what's really going on, just think about how many people missed out on the opportunity because of the noise. And I often wondered how did you keep up? How did you keep going? What made you decide to steal and not just walk away from it and say, y'all figure it out because I already got mine, y'all get y'all? I mean, what made you not have that attitude?
Trust me, it crossed my mind many a time. Like, y'all Negroes, man. But I really think I have a deep love for our people, and love is patient, love is kind, love is long-suffering. And I have an understanding of our trauma. Like, I really have done my research and my history. And I'm a Malcolmite, I'm a Garveyite. And I get, like, if we're going to create something new for ourselves, like, think about Harriet Tubman. She had to literally force people to get free.
Yes.
Like, like,
Yes.
how to put a
And
gun
her own people turned her in.
Right. Look at Garvey. His own people did him in.
Yeah.
Look at Malcolm.
Yeah.
Right. So So I get that history, and a lot of times many of us bow out of the opportunity for leadership because of that history, because of that trauma. But it leaves us in a position where we're still politically oppressed, we're still economically exploited, and we're still so socially degraded. And I just feel like, as a black man, no matter what I may have to suffer, our condition is on my watch. And so when you make it out of the burning village, you can go put your feet up on a hammock and you can look back at the village and be like, yo, y'all niggas better figure it out.
That's right.
Or you can go catch your breath and run back and save the women, children, and the dogs. And I just feel like I'm just a man's man. I just believe, like, it's our duty to sacrifice for our community. There's others that have sacrificed. All I've sacrificed is my reputation.
That's a lot, though. That's a lot.
But there's men and women that sacrifice their lives.
Their lives. But what about where are the friends, though? Like, I feel that there should be more of an outcry of, I know him. I know his character. I know what he will and won't do. How does that feel when it seems as if you and your wife was left standing alone?
Yeah, I think that's all part of the process as well. We have had friends who have supported us, many in silent, though, to your point, because no one wants
silence.
Because no one wants to roll in the mud and get muddy, right?
But that silence is betrayal to me. To me.
I get you. But what I've learned, though, so some great points I've taken from this, because it's not never failing and it's not losses, it's lessons and falling forward. And so, one, I've learned how to lead better. I've learned how to build stronger allyships. And maybe there wasn't enough investment from my part to even some of the people I have as influential friends. Like, it's easy to be chummy and buddy when it's all good and, right? And everything's glory around your name. But it also forced me to grow a stronger relationship with the Most High. It's like men and women will let you down, but my Father ain't gonna leave
That's
me.
right. And the reality of it is, everybody we call our friend may not really be our friend.
Right, and it exposed so much of that. It exposed people that called me a father figure, that called me brother, that called me their hero, that called me their leader. I watched them turn their back on me.
And that in itself goes back to when we talk about the original heartbreak, the coach.
Yeah.
So again, there's another heartbreak, and I'm sure, because I can see it in your eyes. I can see through the smile, I can see the pain. And when I think about the pioneers of where we are today, I was just talking to Angela before coming in here about how proud I am today that I can see African-American men on Instagram throwing it up, bragging, Rolexes or whatever, and they're doing it legally. Yeah. Right? Back in the day, it used to be drugs, or it used to be whatever, scam, whatever the case may be. Now you have a whole new generation of young African-American men that are finding that through financial literacy, they too can have that. And I see you as probably the godfather of that movement. But I don't think you're getting the credit for everything that we're seeing right now. There's a huge movement of African-American men that are teaching financial literacy like never before.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud of that, because I didn't see that before. But I didn't remember seeing a lot of that before Jay Morrison.
These are facts.
So how does that feel, though, that when I don't see you being included in those rooms, and I don't see you a part of those conversations, I don't see the edification, the honoring. How does that feel?
At one point, it was very disheartening, because many of them, folks have said it on public platforms, right? And have called me the trailblazer, the pioneer. They tell me in private, I respect you, you're the OG, you're the big homie, like you started this, right? Most of them have been in my classes, my corner class. I have a whole photo album of like pretty much every poppin' entrepreneur you see and know. 90% have been at our classes are inspired by us or inspired by somebody that was inspired by us. And your pride, your ego, and those lower vibration things can kind of creep in. But I've just taken it all as a time to grow, an experience to grow, right? And it's like it's for me. My mission was to help bridge the gap between financial literacy and pop culture, real estate and pop culture, and to help spark an economic revolution for our people. That mission is being met.
That's right.
So it was an opportunity for me to see, regardless of who gets the name and who gets the glory, because we get caught up in ego and bravado,
That's right.
and
That's
a lot
right.
of these men don't want to mention me because they feel like it shrinks them. And they don't want me in the room because if I'm trying to be the biggest in the room, but I bring the biggest to the room, right? So I operate from a mindset of abundance, and I feel like everything that God got for me, God has for me, and it's one of those like if you know, you know, like everybody know, like everybody know.
Yeah, if you really know, you know, right?
You know,
Right,
everybody knows
right.
it's like it's King Jay, like, and that's cool. But I have so much more to my legacy. I have so much more still to accomplish. But the bigger point is, what I hope to be a vehicle to do, and what God intended for our people is happening. So if it takes me to take some brunt, some blows, and all that for the whole of us to be better off, then my job is done.
When are you going to tell your story?
We're working on that. We want it to be. I want to do it right now, right? Every day.
But I don't even think your story is ready to be told right now, right? It's still in the making, right?
It's always in the making, but
Right.
it is ready. For phase one is ready. But we want it to be a big enough platform. We want it to be premium, a premium platform in which we tell the story. But it's just so many layers to it. And that's why I always say in real life, because I really did all these things in real life. Like, I literally started when no one was teaching on Instagram or YouTube heavy in our community. And I was blitzing and teaching on street corners, teaching in high schools, teaching in prisons, teaching everywhere, and have inspired the likes of so many of those that we see today, in vision, in hopes that it'll work out. And then the same thing with TREF. We are the largest Black-owned real estate crowdfund in the history of America, still to this day.
Wow.
And
wow.
so, and it's just more to do. So there's more to do. I'm excited about it, excited what God has for me and has for us. But it's like, I just think about all of us in our community being behind the eight ball. Like we got work to do.
We got a lot of work to do.
No time for bickering and fighting and for ego and bravado. Like it's like for me, I think so big, it's all little boy flex. It's like, all right, I got more followers than you, or I got a icier rollie than you. Or bro, it's people our age that are running whole countries.
That's right.
Like what do you like?
And I think also, to me, it's always what's not said that I pay attention to. And I think the way that you handled some of the attacks, the adversity and so forth, those that are mature in business, we pick up on those things. And I think it's important that people pay attention to that. It's not always about the clapback. And I know that's hard because many times you want to immediately respond back. And you feel like if I don't, I'm not. But it's also what's not being said. But I also feel that there is a time that no one heard your side. Yeah. All we heard was the loudest mouth. And I think that may have did you a little disservice, right?
A lot of disservice, for sure. Like I don't ignore that. And I had a meeting about it today, and we were talking about the same thing. Like we literally, and we're still working through that as a brand, we literally got silent because one, of legal advice as we're going through litigations, and we're going through litigations to solve these things the right way. Two, I was going through physical surgeries. My daughter went through 5 surgeries. I was literally heartbroken and disappointed because a community that I poured blood, sweat, and tears into and would literally give my life for, I watched them turn their back on me for someone that I introduced them to and who had a 3-month resume. And I had, 20 years of work to show. From shutting down Houston's here in Atlanta to out in Sterling to Otis Bird to Walter Scott to Shakeezy Clemens to Sandra Plana, so many acts of activism and pouring in 65 corner classes, 24-hour corner class here on Lee and Abernathy in Atlanta, just pouring in. I'm like, man, I could do all this work. And in that fast, one person with no real credibility can come in and disdain that. But for me, it still always a learning lesson. And I think there'll be platforms like this certainly help us get our voice out there. But it's something I needed to go through, right? And like that's all part of the process. So I really do trust the process. And I think I get a lot of that because I went through prison. Like that was hell. I went through bankruptcy. I went through divorce. I've been through so much that it's like every time I go through something, if I approach it the right way, I come out stronger and better on the other side. And there's so many black men that have come up to me especially who said, King, we love how you handled that.
Yeah, because
you just showed us how we handle.
Without going to jail.
Correct.
What went through your mind? How did you say, I'm going to handle it this way? Like the mindset, because I want to make sure that we understand there's other ways to handle adversity besides violence. We need to know how to utilize that.
All right, so 3 quick points. One is if you're truly a king or you're truly an OG or you're truly the bigger man, then you got to be the bigger man. They're like, well, King, how you always the bigger man? Because I'm the bigger man. It's easy for me. I'm a big boy, for real, right? So that helps. When you talk about clapback reminds me of checkers. Oh, you jump me, I'm going to jump you. Oh, you jump my man, I'm going to jump your man. There's no thought process in here. I believe that as kings and queens, we have to have dominion over our emotions. So I got to sit back, and I'm from the streets, for real. Like, so I know the consequences of these actions. So I don't disrespect people online, and I don't do those things because I think that people can do the things that I know can be done, right? And so when someone's disrespecting me or my wife or being loud or our companies or whatever, I got a whole bunch of phone calls from folks like, "Yo, bro, what you want me to do?" But it's like, I don't want to put your life at risk. Then I don't want to put your life or your freedom at risk, and then you tell on me, and now my freedom's at risk. Then I don't want to give the system a 2-for-1. All right, somebody take him out because he's talking about me. Somebody take him out, and now you take them out, and now the system got him out and you out and then me out, right? And what will we accomplish? So we got to learn conflict resolution better. Somebody has to lead by example, and there's a price to that. There's a price to leadership.
And I think that's going to be something beyond everything else. I think down the road, let's say 5 to 10 years down the road, I think there will be many people who use the steps that you did with handling that as a roadmap to handling adversity. And then we talk about the different things that you've gone through in life, but people, we know our testimonies are things to lead to the next space, but I think that because yes, we were able to educate different people on the financial literacy. Yes, we were able to open the doors. Yes, we were able to teach them on Instagram, but our community is in desperate need of learning how to conflict resolute our issues. And I was really, really, really proud to see that no matter what anyone was saying, whether it was true, false, how 2 black men can disagree and both still be alive. Imagine if we were able to practice that during the time of Tupac and Biggie.
You feel me?
Right? We don't have to get along. We don't have to like each other, but we can still coexist on this earth. And I think, if anything else, I think that's what we need to see as real leaders, being able to survive that. I think the other part that I picked up on in our interview today is that, again, like everyone else that I interview, to be a leader, you're going to go through being alone, being hurt, and also being betrayed. So people have to really be sure that they really want this life.
Facts.
Because this life ain't easy. It's not easy. So before we close out, I usually always like to ask, who is your GOAT of all time for hip hop? Who would you name? Let's name the top 5. Top 5.
Top 5?
GOAT.
So we got to go Jay-Z, Hov, right?
Most def.
Off the top. I got to give it to Nas. Right? Nas is Nas. You just have to. And I might almost swap Nas though for Big, right?
Okay.
I'm
Big
East Coast.
has to be in there.
I'm Jersey born and raised. I have to. It's a must. Go all time. Man. You got to put Pac in there.
Okay.
What Pac meant to the culture was just bigger than Big. Not B.I.G. Big, but you know.
Yeah.
And then if I'm gonna go new school, if I gotta go, I can't even go new school. I can't.
They can't. Yeah.
I gotta go Weezy. Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
Like,
I think people slept on his latest God Did.
Yeah.
I don't think he's getting enough credit for his bars.
Yeah, like Weezy, when he said that, like he literally, like Hove inspired a whole generation and a whole culture of how people dress, the drug dealer rap, bravado, certain things, class. And then Weezy just created a whole like subculture of, like you said, the dreads, the tatted face, the whole sound. And I mean, look at Weezy birthed Nicki and birthed Drake.
That's it. And let me just say this. Weezy also walked away and dropped a mic at the height of his career. He did it the way it's supposed to be done.
Yeah.
But I also got to give it to Hove, because he's 53 and still killing it.
And then making it not look like 53. Like, at least what we thought 53 was in our heads.
Right. He's so dope. It is just ridiculous. He's so dope. I always think when I'm creating anything, I always think about him and Diddy, right? Because those two, regardless of what you think about their business practices, those two guys really have been able to morph our community, our culture, and made it cool, and it's okay to be us and be authentic, to use incorrect language or incorrect English, dress the way we dress, talk the way we talk, and still be able to demand the respect in the corner office. And I just got to give it up to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to just land back that real quick. It's important, in my opinion, for our culture to understand everything you said, the freedom to dress how you want, speak how you want, and move how you want, but also the flexibility and diversity to code switch and know how to be in the boardrooms the corner office. Sometimes as entrepreneurs, we get so caught up in I could wear sweats and I could wear my chains and I could do all that. And we want to be so much us that we don't even know how to evolve into the next version of us or how to be in other spaces where we still can dominate. And that's where we really become dangerous.
That's right. Because in order to get that big boy money like you're talking about, you have to be able to do corporate. You have to be able to speak the language. You have to know how to maneuver. And that is very, very important. That was one of the things that I noticed that most people lacked in the industry when I first came in, was not having the corporate knowledge, not knowing how to speak the lingo. But I know that you're a very busy man, and I am so honored that you took the time out today to come and talk with us. Anything else you want to leave off with before we close out?
Not really. This is an amazing interview. Thank you for having me. This was awesome. I think the biggest thing that was on my mind was like leaders lead, right? And so it's about having a vision, having tenacity and fearlessness to just go forward and tackle a vision. Sometimes I might even be thankless, but then you don't even you got to think they had campaigns that Garvey must go. And they had negative things to say about Martin and Malcolm and others. But years later, we praised them. So sometimes the fruit of your seed, the fruit of your investment may not be seen even in your generation, but it doesn't mean you do any less of the work.
That's right.
So, I thank God for, the work I do is God called. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it. But it's called on my life to do a greater work than just for myself. And no matter how sometimes thankful, because I get a lot of praise. I get, despite online noise in these streets, I get a lot of love and a lot of praise. But despite those things, the biggest satisfaction we all should be striving for is when our day goes, will our Father look at us and say, son, daughter, I'm well pleased. You did a good job.
Thank you so much. And on that note, we'll see you guys next time. Thank you. Welcome to Coinology, the podcast.